There's this super lockdown prison on an island in Japan, and the inmates there, they actually compete in boxing matches. The next big match was between this enormous dude and our main character Andy, who's got these really unique eyes, like one's a different color. Everyone was betting on the giant guy, and honestly, at first he was just wiping the floor with Andy. But out of nowhere, Andy totally blocks a punch, and then bam, knocks the big guy out cold, winning the fight like it was nothing. Andy looks up and he spots a plane heading straight for the island. All the prisoners rush outside to see who's arriving. A man is brought off the plane and stands in front of the prison's main guy, the warden. The warden starts, "Welcome to Esper Prison, I'm the one in charge." But before he can even finish, the new guy just cuts him off. "Shut up, I don't care who you are." The warden, annoyed, replies, "You must be Hyoubu, the one accused of being part of that shady group called Pandra." Hyoubu just says, "Yep, that's me." Then one of the guards just clocks him in the face and yells, "Talk to the boss with respect. You can't use your powers here." Hyoubu just laughs. Suddenly all the soldiers point their weapons. Andy steps in telling them, "You don't gotta listen to him, he's just a kid." Hyoubu gives Andy a little smile, walks closer and asks for his name. Andy says, "Andy Hinomiya." Just as Hyoubu's about to say something back, a guard interrupts. "You're prisoners here, no free roaming." Hyoubu snaps back, "You better mind your own business." And then get this, he just uses his power to lift the whole plane up and lets it crash down. He says, "You guys put some serious anti-esper stuff on this island, pretty professional." So naturally, the soldiers grab both Hyoubu and Andy and throw them into separate solitary cells. Andy's sitting in his right next to Hyoubu's, wondering to himself, "Seriously, how did I end up in this mess?" Hyoubu calls out, "Why'd you try to stop those soldiers?" Andy replies, "Look, I actually don't like espers, but I hate people who disrespect them even more. Plus, I kinda wanted to protect you." Hyoubu asks, "Are you an esper?" Andy says, "Supposedly I'm half esper, half human. But now I'm stuck in this place, which is basically where espers go to die. Once you're in, you can't get out." Hyoubu then asks, "But I heard someone actually escaped." Andy tells him, "Yeah, someone got hurt and was taken to the island's hospital. That's the only shot at freedom." Andy then changes the subject. "By the way, why are you wearing a school uniform? Are you really part of some dangerous group like they say?" Hyoubu looks surprised and says, "Part? I'm the leader." Andy laughs and says, "That actually sounds kind of fun. I might join you if we ever get out of here." Hyoubu tells him, "Remember my name well and don't forget what you said. The moment we bust out, you're officially with us." Andy replies, "Don't worry, I won't ditch my promise, but escaping this island? Impossible." Hyoubu answers simply, "I'll be leaving once I finish what I came here for." Meanwhile, the warden is fuming that Hyoubu managed to use his powers despite all their high-tech countermeasures. He orders a soldier to try and kill him during lunchtime. Andy and Hyoubu are in line for food. Andy gets his meal. When it's Hyoubu's turn, the cook turns away and secretly puts poison in his food. Hyoubu, totally aware, just says, "This meal was just for me, thanks." He then sits down with Andy and hands him the poison soup, saying, "This is my way of thanking you for helping with the soldiers yesterday." Andy is super happy about the dish. After lunch, it's time for the prison fights again, and this time everyone's betting on Andy. Hyoubu goes to watch too. The fight starts, but Andy can't move and gets easily beaten, collapsing from the pain. Hyoubu walks over and says, "Sorry, the food I gave you was poisoned. You'll be leaving this prison just like you wanted, but make sure you keep that promise to join me." The guards then take Andy to the hospital. Andy wakes up in the hospital to find Hyoubu standing there saying, "I gave you the antidote, but don't move around too much until you're better." Andy looks around and sees all the staff knocked out. He watches Hyoubu start to leave. Andy asks, "Where are you going?" Hyoubu replies, "I told you I have a job to finish." Before he can leave, Andy gets up and runs after him. They walk down a hallway, and Andy comments, "This place isn't a hospital at all, it's more like a lab." Suddenly, they hear a guard coming. Andy quickly hides, then ambushes the guard and takes his weapon. The two of them keep going until they reach a big main room. Hyoubu takes the gun from Andy and starts shooting at everything. He goes to the glass cube in the middle and finds a little girl, Yugiri, inside. As soon as she sees him, she says, "I've been waiting for you, leader." Hyoubu replies, "Don't worry, I'll deal with these people and get you out of here right now." He turns to see the warden, who says, "Now I get it. That girl in the cube is part of your crew. You let the soldiers catch you just to save her, but now, neither of you are getting out." Suddenly, a huge monster shows up. The warden explains, "This is an esper. I took his mind and power and made them into this monster." Hyoubu tries to use his powers on the monster, but it easily blocks them and quickly attacks him, trying to kill him. They start fighting. Andy quickly grabs the weapon, climbs some stairs, and starts shooting at the monster to help Hyoubu. But then, the monster uses its power on Andy. Andy just blocks all the attacks without even trying, which totally shocks Hyoubu. Hyoubu turns to the warden and says, "You're gonna regret what happens next." He twists the emblem on his neck, and a massive amount of power explodes from him. He starts moving toward the monster, blocking all its attacks, and then uses his powers to completely destroy the monster and the entire room. He grabs Yugiri and Andy and escapes using his powers. Afterward, he twists the emblem again and all his power disappears. Hyoubu stands in an open area, and suddenly a huge hidden ship appears. His followers are all standing on board. A guy named Magi comes down and stands in front of Hyoubu saying, "Welcome back, leader." Hyoubu looks at the prisoners who saw everything go down. They all manage to escape the prison walls. Hyoubu declares, "We are members of the Pandra organization. We've crushed the military government, and now all of you are free to do whatever you want." Andy watches as Hyoubu walks up to him saying, "I know what your power is. Get on the ship now. A real man keeps his word." Hyoubu holds out his hand to shake Andy's, saying, "You're super strong. You'll need to help me with all the missions coming up." They start sailing, and Magi talks to Hyoubu privately, asking, "Are you sure about this? Letting someone like Andy on the catastrophe ship? He could be a huge problem for us." Meanwhile, deep down in the ship, Andy is sitting alone. Suddenly, he uses the power in his eye to connect directly with someone else, saying, "Inspector, I've successfully gotten onto the Pandra organization's ship, just as planned." Days go by on the ship, and Andy slowly gets used to things. One day, Hyoubu introduces him to the crew saying, "This is Andy, our newest member." He tells Hamster, one of the crew, to attack Andy with his powers, but Andy easily blocks it. Magi explains, Andy's power is that he can cancel out any ability from another esper. Then Hyoubu tells Yugiri, the little girl, to try and read Andy's mind. She tries, but it doesn't work at all. Hyoubu tells everyone, "This is Andy's power and it's gonna be super useful for us." Andy and Magi then walk through the ship and see lots of kids playing in the hallways. Andy asks, "Why are there so many kids on a ship like this?" Magi replies, "Because they're espers. Their parents dumped them as soon as they found out. It's Pandra's job to take care of them now. You're free to do whatever you want. We'll call you when we need you." Magi leaves, and Andy stands there thinking, "So I'm stuck on this ship for good." Suddenly a voice whispers in his ear. Yep. Andy turns and sees someone far away. His name is Fujiki, and he can mess with sounds. Fujiki makes Andy clean the ship all day. At the end of the day, Andy goes down to the ship's lower deck, like always, and gives his report to his commander. Meanwhile, Magi is with Hyoubu, saying, "I've been trying to find out about Andy, but there's not enough info on him. I can't trust him because our powers don't work on him. So Yugiri can't even tell us who he really is." Hyoubu replies, "It's fine. We'll take him on the next mission. That'll be a real test for him." The next day, they all take a small boat to the city, with Andy joining them. They arrive at a place filled with goods, and Andy starts checking them out, saying, "Everything here has Pandra's logo on it. Isn't that risky for you guys?" Momiji, another crew member, replies, "Nah, people actually really like us." Andy turns and sees Magi, with boxes of weapons, and even a famous painting stolen from a museum nearby. Hyoubu asks Andy, "What do you think of all this stuff? We're trading it all today." They get back on the ship and keep moving through the city with the goods. Suddenly, Magi uses his powers to fly into the air and kills a government official who is reporting them to the police. By the end of the day, the whole team gathers at a cafe in the city and notices Magi is super late. They decide to go look for him, and Andy joins. Andy watches the team kill everyone in their way, and looks around, realizing that regular people aren't seeing anything. He thinks it must be because of Fujiki's sound power. Andy stands there, totally shocked by everything happening. At the same time, Hyoubu and Yugiri are walking together in the city, as Hyoubu gets information about the person he's delivering the goods to. Later, Hyoubu meets the person in charge, who greets him saying, "Welcome, it's been ages since we last met." Meanwhile, Andy is on a building's roof, holding a sniper rifle, aiming at the other man, waiting for Hyoubu's signal to shoot. Andy thinks to himself, "I need to shoot now, because I'm sure Hyoubu and the team are suspicious of me. I have to shoot to earn their trust." Andy looks around and sees Fujiki and Momiji nearby, everything ready for the plan. They're all waiting for Hyoubu's signal to start. The man in front of Hyoubu is an old friend and an esper. He says, "It's been so long, over half a century, and you haven't aged a bit. I first met you in 1942. Hyoubu replies, "Yeah, back then I was an officer, and you were my boss." Andy starts remembering his research, and realizes that Hyoubu has been using his powers to mess with his genes and stay young. He was once part of the Japanese army during the war with America. Andy gets even more nervous and almost drops his sniper. Suddenly, Hyoubu gives the signal, and Fujiki tells Andy, Shoot now. Andy tries to hold steady, but his hands are shaking. All of a sudden, the people in the room shoot at Hyoubu, but they all just fall to the ground. Andy is stunned and turns to see Hyoubu and Magi standing there. Hyoubu says, "You really couldn't shoot, could you?" He walks over to Andy and gives him a necklace, like the one he's wearing, with the Pandra symbol. Using his power, Hyoubu instantly moves them to the meeting hall, and Magi uses his ability to slice off the other man's head, revealing he's full of wires. Hyoubu walks to the window saying, "The real body is in that building over there. But you know why I stayed at the same rank as you in the army? Because I died before the bullet in my head could get me a special promotion. And this uniform? It's for our fallen comrades. I know you can hear me now. We were old friends, but I have to kill you now." Suddenly the other man uses his powers to hit the building they're in, but Hyoubu easily blocks the energy. He twists his necklace, unleashing his massive power, and blasts it towards the building, killing the man and destroying the place. Hyoubu then twists the necklace again, goes back to normal, and walks away. The next day, news of the explosion is everywhere, with reports saying it was esper powers. Queen Kano of Britain appears on TV and announces she'll pay for all the damages caused by espers. She also invites all countries to a meeting in her country to talk about how espers and normal humans can live together. Meanwhile, Andy and the others are back on the ship, celebrating. Andy stands there confused, thinking, how can these people who were killing others yesterday be so happy and celebrate today? He looks ahead and sees Hyoubu, who says, "I'm really glad you joined us in Pandra. We're more than just a crime group. We're a family." Days pass, and it's time for Queen Kano's party. Two guys from Japan go to the event. As they enter, Saki thinks, everyone from every country and esper group is here. But really everyone's just spying on each other, trying to get information. The world's tough because they think espers are going to be a big deal in politics. The other guy, Minamoto, says, and that's why Queen Kano is trying to stop that. Suddenly they see Hyoubu with his group members. They walk right up to him, and Hyoubu greets them. "Welcome, aren't you guys from the Babel organization in Japan?" Minamoto replies, "What are you doing here?" Hyoubu says, "We invited ourselves. We want to get info on everyone here, since they could be future enemies. We're done here, so we can leave easily." Hyoubu gives a signal. The electricity goes out and they all suddenly disappear. When the power comes back on, there's a message on the wall. The Pandra organization was here. At the same time, Saki and Minamoto go to Queen Kano's deputy's room and show their ID cards. Minamoto says, "I'm from Babel. We saw Pandra at the party, and they even left a note. We want to know if anything happened because they were here." The deputy replies, "And why would we tell you our country's secrets?" Minamoto responds, "We've dealt with Pandra many times, and besides, Hyoubu used to be in our military. We can help you." Suddenly, while they're talking, a guard enters and shows the deputy a video that's all over the news about Pandra's message at the castle, which said, "We've taken Queen Kano and we promise she's safe. We'll contact you later with our demands." Minamoto says, "Now I understand everything that happened." Saki tells him, "Don't worry, we'll save the princess." He pulls out a USB drive saying, "I got this from Hyoubu when I met him in the hall." They go to check it. Meanwhile, Hyoubu is watching them, thinking, "This is exactly what I wanted. The plan's going well." Hyoubu then goes to meet the other Pandra members, and the princess is with them. As soon as she wakes up, Magi tells her, "We're the Pandra organization, and you're in our room now, but don't worry, we won't hurt you." The princess asks, "So why did you kidnap me?" Hyoubu replies, "You don't need to know that, but what's important is that the person who asked us to kidnap you is this little girl, Yugiri." The princess says, "I feel like you're not as bad as people say. What do you think about working with me in my country? I can't support everything you do, but I can offer you protection, and my country will always welcome any esper." Hyoubu remembers something old, turns his face away, and leaves the room, and everyone follows, leaving the princess alone. At the same time, Saki tells Minamoto, there was a game and other files on the USB. The files showed that some group was planning to kill the princess, so it seems Hyoubu kidnapped her to protect her. But if we finish the game here, we might find more stuff that can help us. And so they start trying to beat the game. Meanwhile, Queen Kano is sitting alone when Yugiri enters, offering her tea. Before leaving, the princess says, "I feel lonely here. How about you sit and talk with me for a bit?" Yugiri is super happy and sits next to her, and they start chatting. In another room, Andy is training on the floor while Hyoubu reads a book. Andy asks, "Did Yugiri really ask you to kidnap the princess?" Hyoubu replies, "Yes, she saw that someone was going to try and kill the princess and wanted to save her." Andy then asks, So why'd you listen to her? Hyoubu answers, this was Yugiri's first request of me, so of course I'd do it for her. We're family in this group after all. Suddenly there's a knock, and Queen Kano and Yugiri come in. Kano says, I have a favor. Yugiri has never gone out for fun in the city, so I want to show her around. Can we go out and have some fun? Hyoubu stands up, walks to Yugiri and asks, you really want to do this? She says, yes, and he says, then go ahead. I'll use my power to make sure no one recognizes you in the crowd. Suddenly, all the girls in the city look exactly like Queen Kano because of Hyoubu's power. Fujiki manages to figure out which group wanted to kill the princess, and Hyoubu takes them all out. He calls Andy and says, I hope you're with the princess and Yugiri because you're the only one my power doesn't work on, so you can tell who the real princess is. I've killed everyone here and got information from their minds. Turns out they're not espers, just a regular group. They got orders to kill the princess over the internet, and no one knows who's behind it, but now others are trying to find that out. Meanwhile, Saki finishes the game on the USB, and they go to check the data that appears. It's reports from the British government. Before they can read the details, Queen Kano's deputy stops them, saying, this is secret information for our country. I won't let you see it. Minamoto tries to figure out what he's seen and notices that the deputy's assistant has vanished. He says, now I know who wanted to kill the princess. At the end of the day, the princess and Yugiri visit all sorts of places. Then they go to an old abandoned orphanage. There, Kano says to Yugiri, I knew my feeling was right. I used to support this orphanage, and a girl with esper powers showed up here and then suddenly disappeared. That girl was you. The princess remembers what happened back then and says, I'm so happy to see you again. I've been so worried about you since you disappeared. She then says, I hope you'll come live in my country again. I won't let you feel lonely ever again. Suddenly, while they're standing there, the deputy's assistant walks in and everyone starts chasing him. Minamoto stops and tells the princess, be careful, this is the guy who wants to kill you. Suddenly, the assistant pulls out a gun, aims it at the princess and fires, but Andy quickly jumps and saves her. The assistant stands up and says to the princess, this is all your fault. You used government money to create a fund for esper rights. In the end, they're just monsters with no rights. Spending money on espers is a waste. We should use those funds for something more useful. Anyway, it's too late now, and it's time for you to die here. Suddenly, Yugiri uses her power, and a huge glow appears around her, but she sees Hyoubu behind her saying, don't worry, I'll protect you. He uses his power to throw away the assistant's gun, and the police manage to arrest him. The princess approaches Hyoubu and says, I feel so much better knowing Yugiri is with you. You treat her so well, thank you. Hyoubu replies, I promise I'll protect her. He then turns to Minamoto and says, sorry, I used you to find out who was trying to kill the princess. We finished everything we needed to do here. He then uses his power and they all vanish. They all get on the ship and decide to head to Japan. On the way, Magi asks Hyoubu, why do you want to go back there again? Is it because you saw Minamoto or do you want to see the queen? Hyoubu replies, I'm sure the girls there are all alone. I want to check on them and make sure the Queen of Espers is doing okay. Down in the ship's basement, Andy is as usual telling his commander everything that's happened, saying, I still haven't managed to get to the ship's main section because they don't fully trust me yet, but I've got a plan that might work. The commander tells him, you always have to remember your mission is to get that device from the ship. You were chosen for this specifically, so failing isn't an option. I'll be waiting for the details soon. At the same time, near Japan's coast, the Babel organization found out Pandra would be arriving soon, so they got their defenses ready. Suddenly, an order came for 3 girls from Babel to attack the ship, and wow, they started tearing through everyone on board. Everyone ran to try and control the damage. Before Andy could join them, Yugiri handed him her hamster and said, this will help you since you're still not super strong. Andy ran to catch up, and the crew on the ship started dropping one by one. Babel took control of the ship's systems and told everyone to give up. Hyoubu told Magi, I'll let you handle the talking, and then he teleported to face one of the 3 girls, saying, greetings, my queen. He tried to attack her, but she blocked his punch and they started fighting. Meanwhile, Andy was on the ship and one of the girls was about to attack him, but he activated his emblem, used his power, and managed to block her attack. As he tried to figure out who she was, another girl showed up to help her and managed to tie Andy up. She tried to use her power to find out who he was, but she was shocked when her ability didn't work on him. Andy looked at her hand and saw the Babel emblem, saying, now I get it, you're espers from the Japanese forces. You've definitely been trained hard to be this powerful. The girl replied, it doesn't matter who we are. She then took a tiny figure of Hyoubu from the hamster and said, this is the key to getting into Pandra's ship control room. Now we can take over. Andy thought, they're trying to break into the ship's security. I need to go with them to reach the main room. He then told them, "Before you go, take me with you, I'll be dead soon because of Hyoubu's fight upstairs." The girl agreed. "We can use his power as a shield to protect us from the rest of the organization," and they decided to bring him along. The two girls attacked the other Pandra members, using Andy as a shield, and managed to breach the ship's system, taking control. At that moment, Andy managed to escape them and reach the ship's main room, saying, "I finally made it here." But suddenly Hyoubu appeared behind him, saying, "What are you doing here? Come on, everyone's waiting for you upstairs." Above, the ship was under Babel's control, and Magi tried to break through the ship's defenses but couldn't. Hyoubu said, "Since it's come to this, I'll go up and attack them and you watch my back." Before he could teleport, Andy ran and grabbed his hand and they teleported together. Hyoubu asked him, "Are you really that worried about me? Well, come with me, you might actually be useful." They burst into Babel's main ship, freeing the captured Pandra members. Suddenly, the three girls appeared again. Hyoubu told Andy, "I'll handle them. You go and take control of the ship." Andy quickly ran out of the room but found Babel's commander standing in front of him, saying, "I heard you're a new member with them. Anyway, I have the ship's control device. Come and get it if you want." Andy ran towards her and tried to hit her, but she dodged and easily knocked him down. She used her power to throw him into the sea. However, Andy got up again, grabbed her hand, turned off her power, hit her, and broke the device in her hand, giving control of Pandra's ship back. Suddenly, Andy heard Minamoto's voice behind him, holding a gun and telling him to give up. Andy raised his hands but kicked a piece of the broken device, then tried to hit Minamoto and managed to escape. Afterward, Hyoubu caught him and flew him away, saying, "Don't worry, I saved you." They went back to the ship to escape. Hyoubu looked out the window and saw another trap waiting for them, with the three girls standing there again. They used their power to pull the ship towards them. Hyoubu said, "I'll activate the queen and you try to fight their power." Andy asked, "Who's this queen?" Magi replied, "She's the ship's original owner. We, the Pandra organization, aren't just criminals. We fight to free oppressed espers and make a new world. The next leader of the espers will be this queen." And Hyoubu knew this because he could see the future. That's why he's trying to protect her and doesn't want to kill her. Hyoubu stood in front of the ship, saying, "Queen Kano, this will be her throne, but right now she's still young and under Babel's control." He twisted his emblem and unleashed his full power, managing to block Kano's force against the ship. He then twisted the emblem again, turning off his power and restored control of the ship. They were able to fly it away, and Hyoubu used his power to teleport the ship from there. He took the ship and headed to the city to try and fix the damage there, and the whole team went for a walk around the city to buy what they needed, with Andy carrying everything on his back. While they were standing, Yugiri ran off to a shop to buy some things, so Manji told Andy to go after her. Andy ran to catch up. Yugiri walked alone and stopped in front of a shop selling charms, which were 2 metal pieces for 2 friends. She wanted to buy it and found Andy beside her. She bought the charm and was super happy. While they were walking around the city, Yugiri saw an amusement park and stopped to watch it. As soon as Andy saw her, he said, "Come on, let's go inside for a bit," and went to buy tickets. While he was buying the tickets, someone was watching him. At the same time, Hyoubu disguised himself as a doctor and went into a hospital because he wanted to check his own body. In the amusement park, Andy and Yugiri wanted to go in, but he noticed a sign that said, "No espers allowed," so he held her hand, used his ability, and managed to get them through the gate. They started riding all the rides together. Afterward, they sat down to watch a circus show. While they were sitting, Andy told Yugiri, "Stay here, I'll go get us something to drink." And he got up and started walking towards the bathroom. Suddenly, he turned around and stood in front of the person who had been following him, saying, "You've been quietly following me since this morning. What do you want from me, Mr. Minamoto?" Minamoto said, "I came here to talk to you as a detective from the United States." Andy replied, "How am I a detective?" Minamoto responded, "During our fight, you were using a technique from the US Army." Andy said, "That's not much proof." But then the head of the Babel organization told him, "Your presence here is all the proof we need. My name is Fujiko, the director of the Babel organization against espers." Minamoto added, "Don't worry about the girl with you. One of us is watching her now." Andy asked, "So what do you want?" Minamoto replied, "We want to get rid of the Pandra organization once and for all, and we want you to help us from the inside." Andy said, "You know, if I tell Hyoubu this, they'll trust me more, which would actually be better for me." Fujiko said at that point, "We'll also tell them there's an American spy among them, and just that suspicion alone will really hurt their trust in you." Andy replied, "You guys know a lot about Pandra, what's your connection?"
Minamoto said, "During the last World War, every country poured its power into espers, and just before the war ended, Hyoubu, a special Japanese soldier, was betrayed by his superior. To get back at them, he killed everyone involved, one by one. Not only that, Hyoubu also killed the original members of the Babel organization, whose goal was to protect espers back then. He claimed he didn't trust any normal people and had no connection with them. Andy said, "I can't just believe that story so easily." Fujiko responded, "It doesn't matter what you think, what matters is it's the truth, and we've known Hyoubu ever since." Minamoto asked, "So what do you think about helping us?" "Anyway, I don't want your answer now. I'll give you time to think. It would also be what's best for Hyoubu." At the same time, Hyoubu was doing some tests on himself inside the hospital, and when he saw the results, he was not happy at all. In the amusement park, the circus show Yugiri was watching ended, and everyone stood up. Yugiri started looking for Andy to leave, but suddenly she heard a child crying, so she went to see what was wrong. He told her he was lost from his family. Yugiri said, "Don't worry, I'll help you find them." She took his hand, closed her eyes, and listened carefully to the sounds around until she found his family looking for him. She took him to them. When the child reached his family, he told them, "This girl helped me a lot. She closed her eyes and could hear your voices." The father was shocked and said, "Could she be an esper?" They quickly left, and Yugiri was left standing alone. People around started whispering that she might be an esper and called security to take her away. The security guards came, but suddenly she used her ability and created an illusion over the whole area. News of this quickly reached Minamoto and Andy, and they rushed to fix the situation. Andy twisted his charm and ran to Yugiri, quickly stopping her ability and telling her, "Don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong." Suddenly, the rest of the Pandra members arrived, saying, "We felt Yugiri's power and came right away," and they took her and left. They all went back to the ship. Momiji was comforting Yugiri, saying, "Don't worry, I know today was tough on you, but the whole family is here now. Go help them celebrate." After she left, Andy asked Momiji, "What does family mean?" "You all use that word a lot," Momiji replied. "When I was a kid, my city was in a civil war and no one from my village was left alive. Just before the soldiers were going to shoot me, I found Magi standing in front of me, protecting me. I looked beside me and saw Hyoubu come in, saying, 'I know you've suffered a lot because you're an esper, and if you want revenge on them, I'm here to help. And if you want to live in peace, I'm here too. From that moment, we've all been together. Everyone on this ship is in the same boat as me.' Hyoubu is trying to create a world where espers can live peacefully without fear, and we're all grateful to him." Suddenly, a girl came in with a cake. Andy asked, "Why is there a picture of Hyoubu on it?" She replied, "Because it's his birthday today and we want to surprise him." Andy said, "I didn't know and didn't get him anything." Momiji said, "It's okay, we'll forgive you this time, but next year you gotta remember." When Hyoubu heard next year, he remembered the tests he did at the hospital and thought, "I don't have much time left. I doubt there'll be another birthday for me." By the end of the day, Andy went to give his report to the commander, and he was shocked when the commander told him, "Your investigation is done. Japan is now our ally, and we'll benefit from it. Now you need to take control of the ship system. As soon as you find the plan, contact us, and we'll handle the rest." Inside the ship, all the Pandra members had gathered to talk about their next plan, stealing the newest device that cancels esper abilities. Magi told them, "We need to steal it in one piece, not destroy it, because we need to study the latest human technology." At the same time, Andy was talking to himself, saying, "If I finish the mission I came here for, everyone on this ship could get hurt." Suddenly, Hyoubu said, "By the way, as soon as we finish this mission, we're going back to Japan because I saw the future again with my power, and I know that the queen and her followers might be in danger from Babel." Then he turned to Andy and said, "Why are you so quiet today? Seems like something's bothering you." Andy replied, "No, nothing's wrong, I'm just tired." He went to get a drink and sat next to Momiji, saying, "I want to ask you something. Why does Babel hate us so much now?" She replied, "Because there's a long history between us." Andy said, "I heard a rumor that they had problems when they first started the group, and I learned that Hyoubu was connected to them." She said, "I can't tell you anything, but you can ask Hyoubu himself." While they were talking, Yugiri came up to them saying, "I can't sleep, and I want someone to read me a story." She chose Andy, and he went with her to read until she fell asleep. He got up to leave the room, but the hamster told him, "Wait, before you go, put this book back in the library." Andy went there to return the book and started looking through others. Suddenly, an old photo fell out, and when he picked it up, he saw it was a picture of a group of soldiers with the Babel emblem, and a young Hyoubu was among them. Before he could figure anything out, he heard someone coming, so he hid. He saw Hyoubu walk up to a book, open it, and a ghost of an old soldier appeared, saying, "It's been a long time, Atsumi." Atsumi responded, "Where am I now?" Looking at the book in Hyobu's hand, he saw it was stained with blood and said, "It looks like I died before, but where's the rest of the team now?" Hyoubu replied, "I need a favor from you." He handed Atsumi a paper with a picture of the ship on it. Atsumi checked it out and said, "This ship uses the mind of Commander Hachigo, who died in the war because he had amazing abilities. His mind is what makes the ship disappear and move." Hyoubu responded, "We've been running for a long time thanks to his brain's power. I brought you here to ask you something. If something happens to me soon, I want you to take charge of the ship." He looked up at the ceiling and thought, "This whole ship is protected by people who are already dead." Then he lifted his hair, showing the bullet in his head, saying, "I'm not ready to leave this life yet, but I'll do everything I can to destroy all esper enemies." Suddenly, Atsumi felt someone in the library and tried to attack, but no one was there. Hyoubu went to check and found Andy's chain on the floor. The next day, Hyoubu gave the chain back to Andy and said, "Didn't I tell you to always keep this on?" Andy replied, "I forgot where I dropped it." He then asked, "I want to ask you something. I heard from Momiji that you want to create a world where espers can live in peace. Do you think killing normal people is the way to do that?" Hyoubu answered, and if that's what it comes down to, which side will you pick? Then he turned and walked away. Later that day, Andy started getting his gun ready, his hand shaking badly. He remembered when he joined the American Army and trained with firearms. He opened communication with his commander and said, "Tomorrow I'm doing the operation at the ship's core. Are all the soldiers ready?" The commander asked, "What about Hyoubu and the others?" Andy replied, "I'll give info about them to Babel, and that'll keep them busy. But we can't let the queen or her people show up, so keep that a secret." The information started reaching Babel, including Pandra's plan and instructions not to send the queen and her followers. Minamoto told Saki, "I don't feel good about this plan, but this is our last chance to stop the prophecy. If it happens, humanity will be wiped out. Stopping Hyoubu and Pandra is our job now." Suddenly, they saw Queen Kano behind them saying, "I heard everything, and I have to go with you." Minamoto replied, "No, and that's final." The next day, the Pandra members started their mission and went to a city to stop a cargo shipment. After they stopped the truck, planes suddenly appeared overhead with anti-esper weapons, and they saw Minamoto pointing a gun at them from the truck. Soldiers poured out of the vehicles. Hyoubu said, "Looks like you knew our plan well." He turned to Magi and said, "I'll leave this to you. I'm heading back to the ship now." Meanwhile, Andy was escaping and met Saki, who gave him a motorcycle to get away. Hyoubu tried to return to the ship but found Queen Kano standing in his way, saying, "I won't let you go back there. You're an esper, and you know what will happen if you keep going with this plan. The ship will sink and everyone on board will die, including you. We're trying to protect you and all of Pandra." Hyoubu replied, "Looks like you forgot who you're talking to. All my friends are on that ship. I won't leave them to die." He tried to use his ability, but he felt a sharp pain in his chest, and Kano hit him with her power. He managed to get control again, twisted his badge, activated his ability, and fought her with all his might until she fainted. He picked her up and put her on a building's rooftop, twisted his badge again, and turned off his power. He then felt intense pain, thinking, "I hope I can live a little longer." At the same time, Andy reached the ship, activated his ability, and ran to the main control room. There, he found the ship's core, which was Commander Hachigo's brain. He called his commander, telling him what he found, and said, "Send the soldiers immediately. Babel won't be able to hold them off for long, and everyone on board is just kids. Tell the soldiers not to hurt any of them." Andy went to check the device, but suddenly he heard Hyoubu's voice behind him saying, "Now I know your answer to my question, Secret Agent Andy. This is the heart of the ship's power, and I won't let anyone destroy it." Andy asked, "You knew who I was?" Hyoubu replied, "Yes, I've known for a while. Your fighting moves are all from the American Army, but I don't need to tell you anything else, because you're about to die, just like I did once before." Hyoubu started remembering his past, when there was a war, and he decided to move to Japan because it was safe and it was his father's home. When he arrived, he was met by one of his father's friends and his daughter Fujiko. Fujiko was super happy to see Hyoubu and treated him like her little brother. She was an esper too. He lived with them, and one day he was writing a letter to his dead father about his new life. Suddenly, Fujiko came in and took the letter to read it, but Hyoubu used his power and got the letter back, shocking Fujiko, who thought, "I couldn't stop his power, so he's way stronger than me." Suddenly, two military men, Sawatari and Atsumi, entered. Sawatari told them, "We want to use your powers to help the world by having you join the army." He turned to Hyoubu and said, "What do you think about joining us? You'll be able to help more people and get much stronger. We're forming a new esper team in the army." Fujiko replied, "No. The army wants to use esper power to start another war and steal from other countries again. Neither I nor Hyoubu will be your tools," Sawatari said. "I'm not asking for a decision right now. Take your time to think. And don't worry, we won't use this team for dangerous battles. We're trying to show the military that espers can be really helpful, creating a new world where espers and humans can live together." Fujiko, upset, took Hyoubu and left. The letter Hyoubu was writing fell, and Atsumi picked it up, read it, and gave it back to Hyoubu. He told Sawatari, "I don't think Hyoubu will join us." That letter he was writing was to his dead father, and it's clear his father was really worried about him using his powers. He was trying to keep it a secret. Sawatari responded, "I know their power isn't their choice, but with it, we can change the whole world. Records show Hyoubu and Fujiko are among the strongest espers anywhere, and I'm sure they'll join us." Later that day, Hyoubu lay in bed, thinking about what Sawatari said. He thought, "I could use my power to help people, but my father told me to stop. But if people would see me as a soldier and a citizen, then I'd definitely agree." At the same time, Fujiko was thinking the same thing. The next morning, they both woke up, got ready, and decided to go with Sawatari. All the espers gathered to form the new military unit, and Hyoubu and Fujiko were among them. Sawatari welcomed them. Days passed, the unit officially formed, and they started their special training. Soon, everyone knew there were superpowered heroes in the military. A movie was even made about their powers, but it made fun of them, which really upset Fujiko. She looked around but didn't see Hyoubu. Atsumi told her he was out doing something personal. At that time, Hyoubu was at a watch shop picking up his father's broken watch after it was fixed. He took it and left to find Fujiko, but suddenly bumped into a police officer who told him, "Your clothes are terrible for a Japanese boy. You need to learn how to dress right." Hyoubu started getting lectured. Suddenly, Fujiko appeared, arguing with the officer, telling him, "It's none of your business how kids dress on the street." People gathered, and Fujiko hit the officer, knocking him down. The incident reached the army bosses, and they punished the whole team by putting them under house arrest. It was clear the military was really annoyed with the esper team because they weren't following the rules. Everyone noticed Fujiko was upset about what she did, so someone told her, "Don't worry, none of us are here because we wanted to join the military, but because we want to be seen as regular citizens." We don't like them, and they don't like us. Don't worry, Sawatari's trying to fix things now. At the same time, Sawatari was in front of the top military leaders, hearing them mock the Esper team, calling them failures. Sawatari replied, "Let me explain something. If espers had to follow military rules and training, it would be a waste of time and talent. You're all underestimating their power. A fully trained team of your soldiers might stand a chance against one esper, but all the espers together could destroy an entire army. Change is always needed, especially during wars. The whole world has realized esper power and is using it for military advantage. If we, as Japan, don't do the same, we won't be able to stand against anyone." But the leader still looked very much against it. Sawatari continued, "We might have problems as soldiers under your command, but I ask that our military strength be recognized. We're willing to be tested. Pick your strongest weapon against one of us. If we lose, we'll disband the team. From what I know, the Navy recently asked for new fighter jets, and they're being tested right now. We can help with that test. If we lose, you'll be rid of us, but if we win, we'll officially be known as the strongest team in the Japanese army." Sawatari returned and gathered the whole team to tell them the plan, saying, "We have to win this battle because it will decide the future of espers in this country. It'll be an air battle, one of us against one of them, and we'll use guns with fake bullets." Fujiko stood up and said, "Let me do it since I made the mistake. I need to take responsibility." Sawatari replied, "No, Hyoubu will do it." Hyoubu's special training started that same day, simulating a plane attack. The training lasted several days until the day of the duel finally arrived. The Marine soldier started flying the plane towards the location, and when he looked beside him, he found Fujiko saying, "You should pay more attention. We've been flying next to you for a while and you didn't even notice." Another one said, "You need to focus, because if this was a real fight, you'd be dead by now." The soldier ignored them and flew towards Hyoubu, annoyed, thinking, "How can they fly without a plane? I have to destroy them today and end this for good." He flew towards Hyoubu, and the duel began. Hyoubu started moving wildly in the air, trying to confuse him, but the soldier was right behind him, pushing the plane to its limits. Hyoubu's movements were slower by comparison, and he remembered training when a soldier told him, "The plane will fly at 500 kilometers per hour, so be super careful. Our advantage is quick turns, not speed. You need to be able to turn easily while flying, that's where you'll shine. When he chases you, dodge, and when he turns the plane to catch you, that's when you twist your body and shoot him in the head. At that moment you'll win." Hyoubu replied, "But the machine gun is really heavy. I'd rather use a regular rifle, because every fighter has a weak spot, right above the forehead. If I can hit it with one bullet, the whole fight's over." Hyoubu tried to do this, dodging the plane's attack, but suddenly he felt his body get heavy, and a strong force pulled at his legs, stopping him. Sawatari and the other soldiers were on a ship watching, and one of them said, "In the end, Hyoubu's just a kid. He can't use his full power because of all this pressure." Sawatari reassured them, "No need to worry. I know our unit's fate depends on this, but I expected something like this. I've put my whole future into this unit, and I didn't just pick Hyoubu randomly. Just keep watching him. The more pressure he faces, the stronger his power gets." Hyoubu felt something tying his whole body up and remembered his father's words, "Never use his power, and if he obeyed the military, he'd just become a tool, like what happened to his mother." He remembered his father hitting him, saying, "Your mother died trying to help humans with her power. The army kept experimenting on her, and I helped them, thinking I could help humanity. I chose to help people over the woman I loved. I won't let you make the same mistake. You can't use your power if you want to live among people as a human. Forget about the power you have." The force around Hyoubu started to weaken, and he thought, "No, I was born an esper, and this is who I am. I won't try to live a life that's not mine. I have to be myself." He remembered Sawatari's words on the ship before the battle. "You were born an esper, and that's a strength you have to use. There's nothing to be scared of, so forget your father's words. This is your home now. As long as the esper unit is in the military, you can be yourself. If you can't use your power in this fight, then you'll be free to choose how you want to live your life." The energy around Hyoubu vanished, his speed shot up, and he started outmaneuvering the plane during the fight. His father's watch fell into the sea, and Hyoubu thought, "I need to buy time to land the killing shot." He stood still in front of the plane, and as it turned, he fired one shot, winning the duel. Before the team could celebrate, someone rushed in and told Sawatari there was urgent news. An unknown submarine was nearby. Sawatari ordered Hyoubu to go there immediately. The whole team flew to stop them and found the submarine firing at them. They then dove into the water. The team told Sawatari it was probably an American submarine. Suddenly, Hyoubu noticed 3 dolphins swimming nearby, each with numbers on them. It was clear they were espers. The dolphins used their powers to send a message to Hyoubu, saying they were there to help, but then a missile launched from the submarine, killing one of the dolphins. 2 more missiles were fired at the other dolphins. One of Hyoubu's team members tried to destroy them and managed to stop one, but the other missile headed for the dolphins. Hyoubu raced to intercept it, with the soldier and the plane helping him move faster than the missile. He dove into the water, stood in front of the missile, and used his power to stop it, successfully saving the dolphins. The submarine retreated, and Hyoubu and his team went back to Sawatari, super happy with their success. Hyoubu felt incredibly thankful to have Sawatari in his life, and decided to follow his path forever, forgetting his father's words. He decided to live as his true self with his friends. One of them took the dolphins to the city, and one of the dolphins told him, "Be careful, we're fine for now, but you guys are close to dying." And less than a day later, everything in Japan changed. An atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. Hyoubu rushed to talk to Commander Sawatari, telling him, "This is a new kind of bomb, we need to act fast." Sawatari replied, "No, you've done your part, but for us the war is over. Giving up completely is our only option now. Japan has no military left, and every Esper unit member is injured except you." Hyoubu said, "I can still fight alone, at least to stop the second bomb." Sawatari replied, "No, our fate is already decided. We have to lose and rebuild. Look here." He showed Hyoubu a device he made that had the mind of the dead dolphin, which he could analyze and use its special powers. "I used their power to see part of the future. After the war, the number of espers will skyrocket, and you will lead them and destroy the world." Sawatari raised his gun to Hyobu's face and said, "I'm very thankful for you, but I won't let the invading army know you exist. Your power is unmatched anywhere. I tried to make you a monster, but I can't let anyone else control this power." He fired 2 bullets at Hyoubu, who fell, bleeding. As he lay there, Sawatari said, "I won't let you become an enemy of humanity. After all, I'm a human, not an esper. The power you have is mine alone." Hyoubu started crying, remembering his friends who had died. When he looked up, he saw Sawatari standing over him with the gun aimed at his head, and Sawatari fired one last shot. Hyoubu collapsed, covered in his own blood, but suddenly stood up again. Before Sawatari could fire again, Hyoubu used his power to kill him. He asked himself, "Am I really a monster?" He left the place and swore he'd never forgive any human. At that very moment, back in the present, the US military forces had started surrounding the area, and Hyoubu began attacking Andy. Andy couldn't stop his attack, so Hyoubu told him, "You must be surprised you can't stop my power. You can stop any power, but you can't stop active motion. In other words, if I throw something at you and let it go before it reaches you, you can't stop it." He hit Andy, knocking him to the ground, but Andy got back up and pointed a gun at him. Hyoubu asked, "Why didn't you shoot?" Andy replied, "My job is to get this device and take it safely. I don't need to kill you." Hyoubu retorted, "I thought you were like a dog? But turns out you're someone else's dog." Andy told him to say whatever he wanted and threw the gun at him before running to the device and using his power to turn it off. The ship's engine stopped, and it reappeared on the sea. The US military located the ship and started their operation, with many drones flying around. They hacked into the ship's system and started talking through its speakers, warning everyone on board to leave and surrender immediately. Hearing the voice, Hyoubu was shocked, recognizing it. Suddenly, the drones directly attacked the ship, and Hyoubu became furious at the person he heard, immediately walking away from the scene. Andy, confused by the direct attack, said to himself, "Why are they attacking the ship directly? I told them everyone here is just kids." Hyoubu stood in front of the drones, blocking all of them, saying, "Who's controlling them? I need to find out." Meanwhile, soldiers landed on the ship and stormed the rooms where the children were, but they were met by a woman who killed them, telling the children to hide underneath the ship. The soldiers stood before her, using devices that blocked esper powers, and managed to suppress her abilities. All the ship's members gathered in one spot, hiding and unable to use their powers. Suddenly, they noticed someone with a gun destroying the drone above them. They got their powers back and went out to fight the soldiers. Minamoto stood in front of Magi and told him, "Wait, this isn't the time to fight." He showed him a video on his phone of the US forces attacking the ship. Minamoto explained, "Babel knew this would happen, which is why we wanted to lock you up first. But now, we need to save the ship." Magi turned and headed towards the ship. Minamoto asked him, "Just promise me one thing, protect Hyoubu." They all rushed to the ship as fast as they could. Meanwhile, US forces reached Andy's room and Andy called his commander saying, "How is this happening? I told you everyone on the ship is just kids, and now you're trying to kill them." But there was no answer. The soldiers successfully took the device and started moving it. Magi and his team arrived on the ship, killed the soldiers in front of them, and rushed to check on the children. At the same time, Yugiri left her room and hid under a staircase to avoid the soldiers, but Andy's commander found her hiding spot and alerted the troops. He decided to take her hostage. Under the ship, Meiji and his group reached the children and decided to try and get them out. Meiji and Momiji went to search for the others upstairs. One of the soldiers caught Yugiri and put a seal on her neck. The troops surrounded her with an anti-esper device until she passed out. In the command room, Andy walked with the soldiers, and suddenly a hamster appeared, saying, "You're a traitor with them." Just as Andy was about to hit it, one of the soldiers shot it first. Andy went with them to move the device and found his commander standing in front of him. The commander told him, "You've finished your mission," and Andy looked behind him, shocked to see Yugiri held hostage. He asked, "What does this mean? You told me you'd leave the children alone." The commander replied, "I'll respect her human rights as much as we can." In the end, any esper, not under our watch, could lose control and destroy the world. If we want peace for humanity, we have to take tough measures. Andy punched the soldier next to him, grabbed his machine gun, and said to the commander, "Let Yugiri go now." "That girl isn't a monster. I've been watching her this whole time. Espers are actually humans." The commander said, "From what you're saying, it's clear you've betrayed us." Raising his gun at him, he told the soldiers, "I'll erase all your records with us as an investigator, and you'll end up like the other members." Then he fired a shot, knocking Andy to the ground. The commander and his soldiers took Yugiri and left. At the same time, Hyoubu had destroyed all the drones around him. He looked at the ship, which was burning with kids still on board, and tried to reach them, but he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He then saw Magi standing in front of the soldiers, saving the children. Hyoubu stood before them, struggling to breathe as the ship fell apart in front of him. Magi grabbed him by the shirt and said, "You have to hold on, you're our leader. If you don't protect the ship, who will?" Hyoubu smiled again and told him, "I'm leaving everything here to you, you're responsible for them." I have another mission to finish. Hyoubu flew towards the submarine, launching the missiles, twisted his emblem, unleashed his power, and attacked it and the remaining drones. He thought to himself, if the person behind this operation really is you, Sawatari, I won't let you kill any more of my friends like you did before. I'll destroy all of humanity. I have to show them our power. He created a massive explosion on the submarine and destroyed everything in front of him. Meanwhile, all the ship's members managed to escape, leaving only Andy behind. He suddenly stood up after being shot and realized the bullet had hit Hyoubu's necklace, saving his life. He looked up and saw Hyoubu fighting in the sky, blocking all the incoming missiles. However, Hyoubu's strength was gone, and he started to fall. Andy quickly ran after him, jumping into the water as the entire ship was destroyed. Hyoubu began to remember his memories with his father and the things he used to tell him. Suddenly, he found Andy saving him from drowning, with Fujiko trying to rescue him too. Days later, Minamoto was sitting with the government officials in Japan, and they got a message from the United States asking them to cover up everything that happened and not tell the media. Minamoto told them, I have a message from the director of the Babel organization, and played a recording of her saying, hello everyone. I'll try to save what's left of your reputation in front of the world, but in return, you will never mess with Babel's business. Otherwise, we'll expose all your secrets, like the stuff you did after World War II. Minamoto then stood up and left them. At the same time, Fujiko and Saki were checking on Hyoubu. Fujiko told him, we need to look into what the United States did because they were acting really weird, but also, we need to get our strength back. That's why we brought Hyoubu here to the old mansion of Baron Subaru, my father's and his father's friend, the place where he grew up. As time went on, Hyoubu woke up from his coma and said to Fujiko, I don't remember asking for your help. She replied, I'm not the one who helped you. If you want to thank someone, thank Andy, and she threw him Andy's pendant. Hyoubu asked, where is he now? I want to talk to him. She replied, he's not here, but I want to know everything from you. Why did the United States act so violently? Hyoubu remembered the voice on the ship and thought, could it be the same person who killed me before, Commander Sawatari? Fujiko cut into his thoughts, asking, why aren't you listening to me? Hyoubu responded, you don't need to know everything. We're not like siblings anymore. I have nothing to tell you. Meanwhile, Andy was in Babel's hospital getting tests to make sure he was okay. One of Queen Kano's followers found a US mark on him for tracking his location, so she used her power to erase it from his mind, destroying it. Andy couldn't talk to them anymore. He got up from the bed and asked, where's Hyoubu now? I want to talk to him. The doctor there replied, I can't tell you for your safety. Hyoubu won't forgive your betrayal that easily. One of Queen Kano's followers used her weapon to hold down the doctor and used her power to find Hyoubu, making the doctor faint. They decided to go to Hyoubu, and Andy said, I'll go with you. Kano asked, what's your plan now? You barely survived. Andy replied, I don't know, but I won't leave Hyoubu alone. And they decided to take him with them. They all got in the car to go to the mansion where Hyoubu was. On the way, they stopped to rest for a bit. Andy sat with Kano and asked, why do you follow Hyoubu? She replied, the first time we met him, we were kids, and he was very kind to us. But that's because we're espers. Even though there are many humans you can trust, he didn't trust anyone else. Andy then asked, what's the deal with you becoming the queen in the future, and leading an esper rebellion against humans? She replied, I don't know anything about that, but Hyoubu always says it. Even though I don't want to do it, I don't want Hyoubu and Minamoto to fight each other, so I have to stop it. I still don't understand why humans and espers can't live together peacefully. Meanwhile, the Panzer team members were all together, and Magi came in saying, I've got a USB with some info about what happened. When they played it, they found that the American military had taken Yugiri. Magi told them, this is the airbase in the United States. They couldn't figure out where she went next. Mommy-G said, it's good that she's still safe, but what do they want with her? She's just a child. The hamster said, like I told you, this is all Andy's fault. He's an American spy. Magi reassured them, don't worry, we'll rescue Yugiri as soon as possible, and no one should worry about Hyoubu. He's definitely still alive. In Hyoubu's room, Saki was checking his health, and suddenly the three girls came in with Andy. They heard Hyoubu say, I'm very happy you came, Your Majesty, but there's someone I want to talk to first. Andy stepped forward and Hyoubu asked him about the call on the ship. Did you meet the person whose voice that was? Andy replied, yes, only once. When the American military decided to recruit me, my commander and I were sitting in a cafe with him. He was the head of the organization against espers. He told me he wanted to use esper powers to help the world, and that my power would be very important to them, because they couldn't quite figure it out at first. That's because I don't belong to any side. I'm not a full esper nor a full human. He offered me to join so I could truly be myself. Suddenly, Hyoubu grabbed him by his clothes and threw him against the wall, demanding, what's his name? Tell me now. Andy replied, I don't know. He didn't tell me his name, but I found out he's Japanese and was in the last World War. Fujiko was shocked and said, it's impossible. That man is still alive. Hyoubu got super angry, and a huge amount of energy started coming from him until he fainted. At the same time, Minamoto arrived outside the mansion and went to Saki to check on Hyoubu. Saki told them, unfortunately, it looks like Hyoubu is going to die soon. I think the signs have been there for a while. There's only one way to save him, but it's not guaranteed to work. Meanwhile, Andy was listening to Hyoubu's story from Fujiko and learned that Sawatari was the one who shot him in the past, and that he died but came back to life because of his power to get revenge on normal people. She told him Hyoubu was betrayed by the people he trusted most, and the same thing happened to her. After they lost the war, other team members were killed one by one, Luckily, she escaped and started the Babel organization. The Babel members Hyoubu killed were all connected to the old army team. Andy asked, "Does that mean you joined the army that betrayed your friends?" Fujiko replied, "It doesn't matter what you say. Babel wouldn't exist without what I did. I left the past behind to think about the future. My friends' memories, Hyoubu's revenge, my past life, it's all history to me now." Hyoubu woke up from the noise beside him and saw Kano sleeping on the bed next to him, connected to medical machines. Saki told Hyoubu, "Don't worry, Kano volunteered to help you live longer." Hyoubu looked at her, and she said, "I know you hate normal people, but if we work together, we can move towards a better future." He replied, "Someone told me that a long time ago, but the end is always the same." At the end of the day, while everyone was asleep, Hyoubu got up and started putting on his outfit. Meanwhile, Andy was walking in the forest, thinking about how all this happened. The person who made him an American investigator was the same person who killed Hyoubu before. Suddenly, he heard an alarm, and everyone in the mansion woke up to look for Hyoubu. Kano found him and said, "I get how you feel, but I have to go save my friends and meet that person again. If I don't go now, I won't be able to truly live my life." Kano asked, "What about everyone in Pandra? And what about us? You're not alone. We can all help you, and surely we can do something together," Hyoubu replied. "I'm glad you always look to the future." Then he turned and walked away. She screamed, "Is revenge so important to you that you'll throw away your future?" She fell to the ground and started crying. Andy, who was watching, heard Minamoto say, "Go now. Stay with him and help him with everything you can." Andy got in the car and went to catch up with Hyoubu. He stopped in front of him and said, "Get in with me. I'm also mad at the American military for betraying me, and I also need to save Yugiri." And that brings us to the end of this video. Make sure to subscribe for part 2 and more anime recaps.